You want to stare into my soul, but you want to be secretive about yourself.
It's addicting.
It's addicting. Intensity does not equal passion. The only thing that intensity can promise is intensity. Where did I get this belief that having emotions affected by another person is wrong or bad or weak? Chiron, your biggest pain point in your life, in your chart, is going to tell you where your wounds are. Hey guys, it's Amanda Steele. Welcome back to another episode of Sign Language. This is the very first episode that we have a viewer-submitted chart to go over. We already launched the first episode, so we're very, very excited that things are out and going now. This is going to come out like a month after our first episode aired. But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Chiron, which is known as the wounded healer. This is like your biggest pain point in your life, in your chart, everything. It's going to tell you where your wounds are and what your superpower is when you transmute it. Last episode, I gave you a little update that I went on a date finally and how that was going. This has been like maybe a month and a half since we filmed that episode. So there's a lot. There is a lot to catch you up on. As always, somehow everything is all related to each other. We'll do our tarot poll. You'll see the card. You might be scared. Don't be. It actually makes complete sense for the topics we'll be discussing this episode. Mia, do you want to say hi and tell them that you're not AI? Did we make sure that the filter is off the camera? This is the Sony ZV whatever creator camera, so it has like a beauty filter on it, and I think that was the issue. It's like it wasn't registering that she had a face.
Yeah, hello, I am not AI. I'm Amanda's real life assistant, human flesh.
Yeah, she's really here. She's really cross.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about? Our mics weren't working.
Yeah, our mics weren't working. We were talking
about on Instagram. I'm just shown memorial RIP posts.
Yeah.
From strangers just constantly on my explore page. This is a whole thing about how not just social media, but like society, everything like at large, like wants to just constantly be like instilling fear into us. And when you just like notice things like that, you really realize like, wow, I'm at the mercy of whatever my Instagram feed wants to show me today. Like if I wake up in the morning and I open my phone, the first thing, it's like my day's going to be based off of whatever decides to be on my explore page, which a lot of times is really negative stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what gets attention.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. But we were talking about fear mongering because Mia went to a Korean head spa.
Yeah.
And she was talking about her experience. And I was like, I went down a rabbit hole on TikTok about these head spas, and people were like getting their hair like completely tangled and like losing hair, like clumps like being ripped out or something. So I was so scared of this.
I had never heard of this.
Yeah, she had no idea, and she had a great time. It went awesome for her, so good. Now we know a spot.
Yeah.
That won't rip out your hair.
I'm quite embarrassed to admit I spent $95 on that at 9 o'clock last night because I needed a blowout, but that's because I struggle with impulsivity around money and stuff. I feel like I'm always like making irresponsible financial decisions and just like impulsively buying things or shopping and stuff. And then before we started the episode, I was looking into Lilith, and my Lilith is in the second house, which was saying that that would cause that, some issues around money and value. And
yeah, my moon is in the second house. So having the moon in the second house is like your emotional world. Your emotional stability, wellness, like well-being is dependent on your material state. If you have money, you're good. Your emotions are good. If you are struggling with money, emotions not okay. You're not stable. You don't feel safe. It's all about that for sure. So that also means like the way that I cope, the way that I like make myself feel better and feel safe is by spending money.
Yeah.
So
I feel that.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Chiron today, which I'm very excited because we did, I think in the first episode, we were like, I have a Sagittarius Chiron, but I don't know what that is. And I was like, Chiron is very juicy. So we're going to do that today because it also goes into all the updates I want to give you on my dating life. following the last video, I had to keep you guys updated. And it's a really sticky situation. So I could use your guys' insight and advice, like what you would do in this situation. Stay tuned for some shadow work for real. This is a real deep episode. We're going to get into our tarot cards. It is now time for our tarot of the week, the tarot card or pull. I think this is how we're going to be doing it moving forward, where I'll do like 3-card pull so I can get the real message that wants to be shared. But the first card that I pull will be like the one card, the main card. So we have a juicy one, just like our episode. Today's tarot card is the Devil. Dun, dun, dun. I'm actually so excited to talk about this one because it's literally like the scariest one in the whole deck. So we get to reframe it so it doesn't scare you when you get something like this. Following the Devil pull, I got King of Cups and Page of Cups. Let's see. Also, Mia had just kind of told me that she's been pulling the Devil card. Have you? Or Death?
No, the Devil, because you got me a little sticker book for Christmas that has all the tarot cards, and I've been journaling, and I noticed that I keep pulling the Devil because that one's missing on the pages. So, but like the Devil reversed a few times, and then the Devil, I think it happened like 3 or 4 times.
Okay, so the Devil card talks about obsession, control, power, addiction, temptation, all of those themes of the devil. I feel like the Death card is one of those cards where you're like, it sounds scary, but it's not actually scary. But the Devil card is like, it is what it is, right? Like it is the devil. It means like bad habits, self-sabotage, toxic patterns, and I just described it, yeah. So I was actually getting this card a lot in my readings about what was going on in my love life. So that's why I think this one showed up here. Now, the King of Cups and the Page of Cups. So cups represent the element of water, which is the emotional world. So it's emotions, feelings. The King of Cups is emotionally composed, emotionally intelligent. The King of Cups feels a lot emotionally inside beneath the surface, but on the surface is very cool, calm, collected. Now, the Page of Cups is pretty much like the opposite of that, where the Page of Cups doesn't really represent a person, but more a message. Like a page is a messenger. I just recently put those two things together. That's what it means. Like the Page of Sword, Page of Cups, whatever. Page, like a page is a messenger. So any of the page cards point to like a message. Or I would say, yeah, if they're all pages, they're going to be messengers, all of them. So this is like a messenger of love or sensitivity. What do you have for?
I would say Page also like naive, right? Like young.
Yeah, like giddy, almost like the opposite of the King of Cups in the way of how the King of Cups feels a lot but can hold it all together. The Page of Cups is not mature enough to hold it all together, but means well. So with these 3 cards pulled together, what I got from it was, we have something toxic, something not good for us with the devil. Reading the King of Cups here, I feel like it's, you're putting on a front. You're trying to keep yourself looking this way, composed, especially with the devil going on. And then the Page of Cups means that something's going to slip. There's a slipping of the emotional composure that we have with the king, and then the Page of Cups is going to make it slip up. So what this just really spoke to me on when I was looking into the Chiron and everything about today's episode.
I was reading what you had wrote about each one. And for the devil, I think a key point is like the obsession, attachment, and like how it feels exciting and enticing to you, those obsessions, or in dating, like a toxic partner where you feel so drawn to it, but it's about releasing that.
So this pull I got, it definitely speaks to what I was just faced with while starting to date again. And now I told you guys an update in the last episode. So I'm going to update you guys. And I'm going to be 100% truthful about this. So I was talking about in the episode how I'm like, I don't want any more tests. I don't want to like learn anything. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, don't send someone in my life if they are a test or if they're not good for me or if they're going to cause me pain. Also, during this experience, the whole reason why I felt so strongly about the synchronicities and, you know, the whole vertex Jupiter moment, and it felt like real connection. Like it felt like something deeper. But I also was cautious, as you guys saw in my last video. So a lot of this experience had to do with my intuition. I felt like this situation was the universe speaking to me and presenting me with something. And then I was like, okay, now here's my chance to see how much more in touch with my intuition I've been and how things really turn out. Here's the thing. I am still unsure what the lesson really was. I thought I came around to the lesson, but new things have unfolded. So it's still currently ongoing. Okay, so I was seeing this guy like twice a week at least for like 3 weeks.
At least.
At least. Yeah. It wasn't serious, but it felt fun and nice and exciting. And that's why I was like, maybe that was my intuition. I was feeling like, maybe this is not going to turn out how I'm like rushing to think it is. Even when I was trying not to put pressure on it, I think I just really wanted to know what it was that I was feeling so I can kind of decipher these feelings that I have. This is where our card, the devil, comes in for me. I have definitely realized that I have this tendency with all of my Scorpio placement, my Scorpio Mars, I approach love and romance and relationships like with a lot of intensity and depth. And it just has always felt like the romantic relationships in my life come from like a fated destiny kind of thing, which I still stand by because my relationships have always like transformed me so much and taught me so much about myself. It's like a huge part of like how I've grown, and I've always grown and transformed so much like after each relationship. So I do feel like all of my relationships are that for me. Like they're catalysts, really. I guess it was a test because this was a man that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know like someone like this existed. I was so not sure what type of like man I would actually end up with that would fit me the way that I need someone to fit with me. Like, so how I felt with this guy was like really, really deep and really intense, but also it didn't feel toxic. Like he felt like a healthy person, but he's a triple water sign. So that's the only way I can describe it to you now, really, right? Like imagine a triple water sign man. It's like they want to be so deep into your world and into your psyche and not, well, I guess this is just Scorpio kind of. I don't know. Cancer men, I really don't like Cancer men either.
Right.
Pisces men are supposed to be the worst ever.
You know who is Cancer rising and a Pisces moon?
Who? Oh, your man's.
Yeah.
Gross. Hate it. Anyway, so there was like a time I like just like read him to filth. He liked my hot takes, and he actually was interested in like when I would tell him stuff about astrology and like what his means and what ours mean together and stuff, because he actually is in kind of this world, the space. So that's part of why it was really nice. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never really like been with a water sign man before. Now I get it, what people say. He's like, what do you mean? What? And I tell him, I'm like, well, you want to like just stare into my soul, but you want to be secretive about yourself, everything about yourself. He's like, can I change? I'm like, why are you asking me this? This is like some spiritual guru guy. Then I don't know, maybe like a week or so later, he calls me. He told me he's also seeing another girl. First of all, I was like, I thought it was going to be a way worse phone call than this, but I digress. So then he tells me, I also told her I wasn't really looking for a relationship right now, but she finally said it like out of her mouth. She said that it would hurt her if I was seeing anyone else. Okay, wait. Now I'm confused. I'm like, you're ending things because you're going to be with her, or like, what do you mean? He was kind of like vague about it, but he made it seem like he was not going to be dating anyone. He said, I don't know what I want, and it's not fair to you guys. I don't want to hurt people. Okay. So I'm thinking, wow, what a great man. I'm like, after this, I'm like, obviously, like my ego is a little bit like, Psh. But then I'm just thinking, I'm like, that was beautiful. That was just beautiful. Like that was so mature and beautiful and good. And like, there's nothing wrong. Like everything's fine. Of course, that made me think about what was the meaning of this? Why? For what? I think what it was trying to show me was one, that I should not write off love in general, because I was kind of doing that before, to be open that there are people out there that would be great matches with me, but also kind of being faced with, are you going to hold on to this? Are you going to need to be in control of the situation or your emotions or how you're perceived, that you don't move on from this as soon as you should? I really feel like my lesson was, okay, you can have all the signs, everything can line up and be like, this is the one, or like, this is, the universe is telling me this is the person for me, and it feels magical and it's all these things. I feel like this is still unfolding for me, because I think right now I'm just trying to learn like the difference between those feelings, the difference between this is exciting and healthy and like faded because it's good versus faded because it's bad. Or even if it is not an unhealthy dynamic, certain people in certain situations can bring unhealthy things out of you.
I think it can be faded, and it doesn't have to be good or bad, but just like you're saying, it's just an experience that you were experiencing with another person, a new kind of person that opened your eyes and like will motivate you to keep dating. And because it's not your time, like we know it's not your time to get married yet. It's not your time to be with the one. So, we have other things to focus on, but you can still date and like have nice connections until then.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, manifested my Sagittarius. It was so funny when I was looking back at the first episode, and I was like, so I guess I'm like kind of like trying to like, I'm looking for my Sagittarius and haven't found one yet. Then like right after, okay, so the silver lining of this little tough window I was having here was that the universe did supply me with a backup. So we were good. And I was like, thank God, like, thank you. Thank you for not making me just brave this storm solo. Like, thank you for letting me have some sort of fun little distraction. Anyway, Sagittarius man, I don't know. Not the one. Not the one. Okay.
As they all are.
They all are not the one. So far, this guy is good. He's not done anything bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's good. He's good now. Good guy. I'm just like, you know what? Maybe like another time, another place, like whatever. Then I don't know. I kind of like, when he told me he was seeing someone else, like I definitely have an inner knowing, but it's something that I'm working on strengthening. This is why this moment was a lot for me, because I was feeling a lot intuitively, but I couldn't decipher it. Couldn't be like, you feel things. Does it mean it's for you, or you just feel intensity? Basically, like that, how it is with the devil card here. It's like I mistake intensity for passion. So if it's like really intense and it feels like so much and it like changes me, changes like my energy, then I'm like, this is something real. Where intensity does not equal passion. Intensity does not equal compatibility. The only thing that intensity can promise is intensity, which is not always good.
It's addicting.
It's addicting. I think what actually hurt me the most during this was the realization I came to was when I was in this little fling, I felt like I was back. I was back. I had energy. I was happy. I was just ready to take on the world. And then when I don't have that, it's like I'm not. After seeing how high vibration I was during that time, and then without it, I'm back to normal. I just hate that, because of course we want to feel like we can be just as happy and fulfilled and complete, like alone, as we do with a partner. So I think what these cards confront me with is, where did I get the idea that needing connection, needing emotional connection from others was weak or wrong? Because that's really what's going on there, where I was shaming myself for being so much happier while I was dating than when I was not or when I am not. So I think this situation really showed me that I do need some connection. And I need to not put everything on myself and put my own happiness. I mean, everyone should put their own happiness on themselves, but I'd put a lot of pressure on myself to hold things together, to be emotionally composed and calm. And I think that this situation showed me that vulnerability is necessary and it happens. It doesn't have to be this happened for this reason and it was meant to teach me this thing. Sometimes it's as simple as you need to be more in touch with your vulnerability, or like seeing vulnerability and being open to being vulnerable with others. I have a Capricorn moon, and actually, teaser for the chart we're reading later today also has a Capricorn moon. So there's big themes of that with a Capricorn moon, where we want to be very in control of our emotions at all times. Not having control over our emotions makes us feel unstable, unsafe. So that's really like what my toxic like habit is that I'm trying to avoid being hurt, being embarrassed, or truthfully just losing control. So I might put an emotional wall up, but without letting some vulnerability peek through, how am I ever going to find that connection that I'm looking for? So here's what happened with the guy. I had this intuition that it could have been this girl that I knew. I knew that they knew each other. This is the thing. I knew that they knew each other. I have talked about her with him, but he was like also following her ex-boyfriend. So I was like, oh, that's a friend. That's how I was seeing it. So I always had that kind of in the back of my head of like, maybe it's her, like, no, but they're friends. I don't know, whatever. Then this girl starts posting on her close friends, this man, her and this man together. This is a girl I know. This is a girl that I interact with often. I love her too. She's great. So this is why it was also hard for me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's awesome. Like I can't even like make something up in my head to be mad at her or not like her or something. So she started posting him like a little bit, and I was like, I'm not going to jump to like conclusions because I don't want to sound crazy. So I let it kind of waiting to see if anything else unfolded. And then it started to get a little bit more clear that they were seeing each other. So I've put 1 and 2 and 3 together. And this man was seeing this girl while seeing me. She told him that if you're seeing anyone else, that would hurt me. He ended things with me, tried to keep it like open. And then now I'm seeing them like together, like posting together. I don't know what she knows. I know she doesn't know, at least. I don't know if she knows he was seeing someone else, but just doesn't know who. And I feel like I'd have to be like, hey, just so you know, like that I'm the other girl, because like I know she's the other girl. Now I know that. And I'm seeing this stuff that she's posting on her close friends. So I'm feeling like really bad, you know, because I came to the conclusion that I would want to know, but either she knows, but she doesn't know who. And I feel like that's awkward. And she should know that the other girl is like on her close friends, where you're secretly starting to post your new man. Oh my God. And it just like nightmare. Okay.
The thing is, I think they were probably dating or seeing each other and just like weren't exclusive. And then she probably was like, I want to like be exclusive. Okay, like if you're seeing other people, that's going to hurt me. Like that's like the same thing. And then now he maybe took a beat.
That's probably the most likely version of events, which is actually the worst, which means that he was hiding, seeing people, me.
No, what's horrible about it is that he was seeing you knowing that you guys intimately know each other, and like seeing the both of you and continued to see while like doing that. That's what I think is really weird.
That's where I don't care what happens to him. You know, like I would have walked away from that as he was a great guy. He was a great guy. That was a beautiful experience, you know, just love you forever, whatever. And I would have never known anything. But the other girl is a home girl.
And you knew.
I know. So that's my intuition was right there. So this is why I'm saying it's still unfolding, because I don't know what to do. Yeah, you speak to how the post looked. Like, is it like without a doubt dating? Basically, I'm going to have to message her. She should know. I would want to know.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I don't want to cause drama, and I don't want to kill her vibe, you know? Like I don't want it to be like I'm salty or anything and like trying to like sabotage them. But also I realized, what does like not telling her do? It just protects him. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with girlies on this one.
And she could be fine and it could be whatever, but I would personally like to know. And I don't know if I would be fine.
So if you're listening to this, what would you do? Obviously, I am going to do something before this ever sees the light of day. But yeah, I'm kind of torn because he did break up with me when she asked him to not see other people, but it just feels kind of wrong. It just feels like she should know because I know.
That's the thing that's weird is that he put you guys, the both of you, everybody in a really awkward and weird position. That's just like terrible when he should have communicated better or ended things sooner the minute that he knew you guys knew each other.
First date. Because I literally was like, oh, we have these mutuals.
Crazy. Like, oh, my girlfriend, my other girlfriend.
No, but this is actually crazy because as I think about it more of like what I would say to her and like how would it go, I'd be like, this man had to have. There was one time, I think this might have been like when he landed and I went over there and I spent the night. And later the next day, like when I went home, I saw on her story that she posted at his studio. But I was like, oh, like she's just having a little workout.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like it could be really messy and she needs to know. And I think it's probably better to tell her sooner than later, because if he really was like having me like over one night and then her like the other, that'd be crazy. But that's probably what was happening.
Yeah, it is crazy.
The nerve. And then to top everything off, I had to contact my psychic. I had to ask her, what is this? Please tell me, what is this? When I get back, she said, this guy, your higher self actually manifested to show you that there's still good guys.
I agreed with her until finding this out because, like you said, like the whole thing seemed mature and like the right decision, but he had already made a mistake on the first date when he found that out. If that's what's going on, who knows? Well, we'll know.
So apparently my higher self manifested him to show me that there's still good guys. So maybe it was just a little bit off, and what my higher self was manifesting is what I had already thought, that I was maybe my higher self was trying to show me that there are still good guys out there. So I'm like, okay, a good guy. It was fine. It totally made sense, like when I got the reading first, but then once we found this out, I was like, ooh, okay, so now what does that mean? And then she said the synchronicities that you're feeling are because you guys met up on the other side before meeting in the 3D. I'm like, the choice of information shared, right? Like, she's just a translator. She's just the messenger. She's not like a interpreter, a commenter on what has been shared. Yeah, so that's interesting. So ongoing story. We'll keep you updated. Let me know what you guys would do. I think now that we're talking about it, it seems like straightforward that I just need to talk to her, but I don't want to do it out of nowhere. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to ruin what they have.
Yeah, no, I would just say, hey.
Yeah, I think it just like, I was just kind of in.
Rather say this sooner than later. I was seeing him too, girl.
We'll see how this continues to unfold. Also, I kind of came around to maybe the lesson of this is like my higher self or my spirit guides. They're giving me experiences to just talk about, to carry the show. I'm like, period. Sure. That could be it too. Because so far, every time I pull something for the episode, everything all comes together so perfect. So this was like my obsession with trying to figure out the meaning of things. And that was an unhealthy habit of mine, to be trying to figure things out and looking so deep into things and the why and trying to assign meaning to each and everything, because I think it just disappoints you. Mm-hmm. And you're not really giving the universe space to let it play out like as it should without you trying to plan out how it should go. Yeah, I felt like I was going to be able to give a better rounded conclusion to that story, but it's really not concluded.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So as I am facing this, I'm totally okay if I am dating and I'm like having some fun romance in my life. But if I don't have it, then I'm just like low. I had to stop criticizing myself for that and just really accept that I need to do what's best for me. I realized that I needed to stop making myself suffer. I've definitely realized that a lot of my mental health issues, all of my mental health issues come from my own head. I have been struggling for a bit, and these like new situations really showed me just how like actually depressed I was. I was on antidepressants for about a year when I was postpartum, and I don't know why it took me like forever to try antidepressants. I guess I just didn't want to, I don't know. I felt like if I was going to start to take antidepressants, I was kind of like admitting like failure. Always like to hope that I can get myself out of things and like, I'm going to be okay. Like everything's going to be okay. Like it's fine. The meds at that time were absolutely so necessary and just like saved my life. Incredible. Then, after being like a year on them, like things in my life had become more stable, and I have been like fully immersed in spirituality and these kind of practices where I was like, okay, I think that I'm like at a better place now, and I'm ready to get off the meds and just use like what I've learned to heal, to get through any emotional issues that might come up. And what's crazy looking back at this now, and honestly, like this start of dating really was the catalyst for, I was always considering getting back on antidepressants, but after this stuff, it became like so clear that like when I had gotten off of them, I was okay. I was hopeful, like, oh, I feel a little bit different, but I got this. And, all this time passed, and it finally just got to a point where it hit me where it was like, dude, like you fell so low. Like I was not even aware of how like depressed I had actually gotten. I just felt like I was past needing the meds. But I realized I was just suffering for no reason. It's the truth. I had gotten very low, and it was hard, making it hard for me to do things or like feel happy or feel stable and stuff. And kind of just decided that I was going to allow myself to take whatever meds that I needed to make things a little bit easier on me, because life is like already a lot on me, being a single mother and like having gone through a lot of trauma. And I think that we just need to kind of make it a little bit more normalized to get the help when you need it, and not to be ashamed of it or feel like you're a failure. Part of it had to do with like my spirituality too, where I felt like, oh, well, if I'm on these antidepressants, like, am I gonna not have the same kind of connection like to my intuition and stuff like that. Also, I wanted to feel the feelings of being a mother, like being on the antidepressants before, like for all the other heavy things going on in my life, they were doing the job wonderfully perfect. But just like when it came to how much I was able to feel on the other end of the spectrum, the happiness, it was like capped too. So I thought I'd, gotten to a good enough place to get off of them and like enjoy that. And I, it was nice. It was definitely nice to like feel all the things, but it just wasn't worth it. And I don't know what kind of message I'm sending here, because the thing is like, get the help. There is an answer, and like, you don't have to suffer. And I also had told myself previously, like when I first got on antidepressants, I was like, this is just because it's a tough time right now. I'm never gonna like stay on these forever. Like as soon as like things are good, I'm gonna get off. Like I'm not gonna be dependent on this stuff. And sometimes you do your best, and life is really heavy and hard and confusing. And especially if you've been through a lot of stuff, it's like your view of the world is like very skewed. Yeah, well, just since starting antidepressants again, making that decision, I have felt so much better, like right away. And all that took for me to end how hard life felt every day for me. I spent so much time fighting myself for whatever reason of trying to prove to myself or prove to others. A lot of times we are our own worst enemy. Sometimes we are the only thing getting in the way of ourselves. And I think this beautifully reflects the spread of these bad habits and addictions to unhealthy lifestyles, and trying to keep it all together trying to seem okay, but the joy is in the page. It's in the Page of Cups that is childlike and curious and sensitive and vulnerable. So vulnerability is important. Mia, I feel like this is not your issue in this life. I feel like you are very vulnerable with people.
Yeah, for sure.
Except you do have an Aquarius moon, which is pretty detached.
You're heart-centered. I'm very vulnerable. I'm just not too close with many people, but the people I'm close with, I'm vulnerable.
For those of us that have these maybe control issues within us where we need to be in control of ourselves and our lives and everything, it's just a reminder to really look at how we are conducting ourselves in our life, and is it actually benefiting us? Or is it maybe getting in the way of us? So I hope that there was something helpful from me sharing that. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but I'm just kind of living these real life experiences out in real time with you guys and just being vulnerable and transparent and open. And maybe it's what someone needs. So to wrap up this portion of our tarot poll, the journal prompt for today is,
how might I be sabotaging my need for connection, for control?
I was able to prompt you guys before even saying the question, but what it's prompted for me and what I think it's prompting us is, where might we be clinging on to something that is unhealthy for us, toxic to us, maybe even harmful to us, because we fear being vulnerable. So that is some deep shadow work there. I'm feeling that. I'm like, I think I actually need to go. I need to journal and I need to work on this, because the question I had asked myself is like, where did I get this idea? Where did I get this belief that having emotions like affected by another person is wrong or bad or weak? This is Capricorn moon to a T, and that is exactly why it's shadow work, because that's some shadow work that is necessary for me. Maybe you, I don't know. How does it resonate? Let me know. That was some really heavy energy, so we're going to do another singing bowl. Sick. That was sick. Okay. Okay, well, that was like really heavy. I don't know why I was picturing in my head that it was going to be more like hee hee ha ha. Yeah. Because I'm relating it to sorry if you hear some sneezing. It's Leo. Leo. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a montage of every episode. It was Leo. Yeah, I mean, because like tying every story you tell back to a place of self-reflection and growth, it's got to be serious, Not everything you can be like, oh, I learned this lesson. Yeah, that's the whole point of like the shadow work. It's like not fun.
Yeah.
But I guess on like how I was like, I don't want to go through this again. Like, universe, stop doing this. And like, I literally was put through it, but it wasn't, because it's shown me how far I've come. Well, yeah, I guess instead of acting out of pain or need for control or hurt, or I was like, what's the issue? My emotions get in the best of me. Mm-hmm. Let's take care of it.
Yeah, you let it go and you got it handled. You didn't cling or obsess.
Just did a little
figured it out.
Cord cutting ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let them go. Let go. Okay. So now class is in session. We are going to do Chiron through the houses. So Chiron in your birth chart. I think Chiron is pretty much shown everywhere as well. Like any app has Chiron on the chart. It's a pretty important one. It's the first important, not important one. Like Chiron, I think, is more important than like Lilith.
Oh, more important than Lilith?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, basically, if you want to know, how do I use my chart to find out what's wrong with me or where am I not aligned? What do I need to heal from in order to be the best version of myself? You're going to look at your Chiron placement. Chiron is the wounded healer. Also, I mean, like if you want to look into someone else's birth chart and see what their biggest wound is, check out their Chiron. But Chiron is an actual physical celestial body, but it's not an asteroid. It's not a comet, but it's comet-like. That's the info I got on that. But it orbits between Saturn and Uranus. It's called a centaur object. But what does Chiron look like? It's the key, right? So the symbol for Chiron in your birth chart is the K that looks like a little key. It's interesting because Chiron starts with a C, but it sounds like a K. So sure, yeah. It's going to be the one with the K. So this comet-like thing was named Chiron after Greek mythology. It was centaur Chiron centaur, something like that. Doing my best, guys. Doing my best. So the story of Chiron in Greek mythology is basically that Chiron could heal everyone but himself. So Chiron in our birth chart represents our biggest source of pain and wounding. Yeah. But also within that can become like your greatest healing gift. I feel like your Chiron in your chart also kind of shows where you have this inner power, but the inner power is not powerful until you claim it and face it and work through it, heal it. This is just what it is the wounded healer. I'm trying to think of other ways to describe it, but these are the description words. Yeah, so basically like whatever your biggest pain is, yeah, that sucks. And this is going to tell you what that is. And that part really sucks. But because that is your worst pain, deepest, truest pain, it also is where you have like the most wisdom on healing and growing from and overcoming. Through going through this deep pain, trauma, you're able to use that to help others. So that's the whole gist of Chiron. Chiron is slow moving. I'm not sure if there's an exact amount of time. I think it said it moves at like weird times. So sometimes it will go really fast through a sign, or sometimes it will take a long time to go through a sign. So it's kind of like up in the air, kind of like not really a linear path of this. So I'm under the impression that most of us watching are either going to have their Chiron in Scorpio or Sagittarius. Lucky for you guys, today, Mia has Sagittarius and I have Scorpio, and we have it in the same house. So we get to really see like how that changes with the different signs. This also makes it a lot easier now. So we can speak to like, you either have Scorpio or Sagittarius Chiron. That's your wound. So Scorpio wound is betrayal, trauma, death, rebirth, transformation, intimacy, trust. And then the Sagittarius wound is about being too much, or your ideas or thoughts or expression is the source of your pain and like how it's received. So I'm going to go through all of the houses and tell you for both signs, Scorpio and Sagittarius, since we're only going to be talking about 2 Chiron signs, where it's going to get really personal is which house it falls in for you. All right, let's just go through Chiron through the houses. So check your birth chart, see which house your Chiron falls in, and see if it's Scorpio or Sagittarius. If it's neither of those, so sorry, but let me know so I know that we have people in different generations watching so we can include you. First house, Chiron in the first house, a wound around being seen, either your intensity, Scorpio, or your truth, Sagittarius. Feels too much. The first house is the house of self, of the physical body. So it's your appearance, your personality, your identity. So your greatest wound might be surrounding those things. It could be about your appearance. It could be about your personality. And with that, if you have Scorpio, you might feel that you're seen really intensely, or people respond to you intensely. Or Sagittarius, where maybe you say things that feel like too much to others. You're too truthful, you're too straight up and too open. Not too open, you can't be. Second house, a wound around worth, fear of emotional loss, Scorpio, or fear your values or beliefs aren't valid, Sagittarius. Second house is the house of material, finances, things you earn for yourself, and self-worth. So those are the themes of your greatest wound. Third house, a wound around speaking, fear of exposing emotions, Scorpio, or opinions/knowledge, Sagittarius. A fourth house, Chiron, a wound around home, unsafe emotional roots, Scorpio, or conflicting family beliefs, Sagittarius. So for this, it's like fourth house Chiron, really tough. That means like your childhood, family dynamics are the source of your greatest pain, wounding. And how that changes from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Scorpio is like actually unsafe, like betrayal, secrets, intensity, power, control. But if it's Sagittarius, that might be like you don't agree with the rest of your family, maybe like black sheep kind of vibe. Fifth house, a wound around expression. Vulnerability in love/creativity feels dangerous, Scorpio, or too big, Sagittarius. I'm going to look at.
I was just looking, that says in Scorpio.
Fifth house, creativity, ego, and love. The wound, feeling unworthy of attention, love, or creative expression. Rejection or heartbreak hits deeply. Okay, so like if you have a Scorpio, fifth house, Chiron, you're going to be thinking like, I don't want to be vulnerable, or like being vulnerable equals pain, suffering, like that's where your trauma is. If it's Sagittarius, like maybe you have expressed yourself very freely and loudly and proudly, and people have made you feel ashamed about that. Sixth house, a wound around control. Emotional overwhelm drives perfectionism, Scorpio, or spiritual aimlessness, Sagittarius. Hyper self-criticism, burnout, or health anxieties, feeling never good enough. Yeah, so the sixth house is work, service, wellness, routines. If you have a Chiron there, like you probably have like workaholic tendencies. You feel like you're never doing enough. You're also very self-critical. Chiron in the seventh house is relationships, marriage, partnerships, union. So that's where your biggest wound will be around. It's the fear of betrayal, Scorpio, or fear of worldview clashes, Sagittarius. The eighth house is a wound around merging, trauma around trust and intimacy, Scorpio, or fear of manipulation / spiritual betrayal, Sagittarius. And if you're wondering why Sagittarius has themes of like spiritual, that's because, I mean, Sagittarius is a spiritual sign. It rules the ninth house, which is the higher wisdom, religion, spirituality. Sagittarius is the ruler of that. So that's why a lot of these themes for Sagittarius are about like religion or faith or spirituality. Brings us right to the ninth house, a wound around belief. Existential crisis around meaning, Sagittarius. Oh my gosh, Chiron in the ninth house, Sagittarius, you'd be like, what's the meaning of life? Like that's kind of feels like me a little bit, or deep distrust of faith / teachers. I also see ninth house Chiron wound being feeling lost in life purpose or having dogmatic beliefs imposed on you. So that's an interesting one. If you have some like hard planets in the ninth house, that can indicate that you probably were like forced into some sort of like religion or beliefs as you grew up, and now it's time for you to separate, heal, and create your own. 10th house, a wound around visibility, fear of being exposed emotionally, Scorpio, or judged publicly for your truth, Sagittarius. 11th house, a wound around belonging, betrayal by friends, Scorpio, or not fitting in ideologically, Sagittarius. I was like, 11th house, like, why does that one feel like so resonant with me? In my Plastis chart, I have my Chiron in the 11th house. And that nail on the head, betrayal by friends, it's in Scorpio. So like, I would say that my biggest, deepest like wound would be around like how I've been betrayed by friends and never really felt like I fit in anywhere. Then the 12th house is what my whole sign, which is I normally use. So the whole sign Chiron for me, and Mia as well, is in the 12th house. Mine is Scorpio and hers is Sagittarius. 12th house Chiron, a wound around the unconscious, hidden emotional trauma, Scorpio, or suppressed spiritual truth. It says the 12th house Chiron wound is a wound you couldn't see at first. Abandonment, secrecy, past life themes, psychic overwhelm, or self-sabotage. We were texting back and forth last night about our Chirons, and we're like, oh, damn, you know, she's like, okay, so my biggest wound is like trusting my truth. Is that what it said for you?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty much.
Mine says feeling fundamentally unsafe in your emotional world.
Cry emoji.
It's interesting though, to try to describe the 12th house wound. 12th house is unseen. So it translates to unseen wound. And this is seriously like this placement, understanding this helped me so much. Like it just made myself make so much more sense to myself after knowing this, where I think having the Chiron in the 12th house is giving your pain is from a past life. Or I guess it could just be something that was very hidden or secretive. But I know for me, what it feels like is that I was born with this karmic weight on me. Like, I swear, like being a Capricorn moon is like, you're an adult, like as soon as you come out of the womb, like you're just straight up, you're serious, ready to go. So it definitely resonates for the fact that I've just like always felt this like heavy, like emotional weight from forever. from the beginning of my time. And so that validates that, like, oh, okay, so this is like past life karma. It also explains why all of my relationships and connections feel so karmic and fated, because I think they are. So there's a lot of stuff for having the 12th house Chiron that we can't really pinpoint where the pain came from. It's kind of just like an underlying thing. So obviously mine is in Scorpio. So mine is about the like betrayal, secrecy, past life trauma, like stuff like that. Yours in Sagittarius. How did you feel about reading yours and understanding that?
I felt that it resonated because a lot of it just says it's, about not trusting yourself, your own intuition, your beliefs, faith, God, all of those kinds of things. Existential anxiety, spiritual loneliness. Like, that's how I felt for a really long time. I was baptized Catholic and then like never really went to church, but then I always felt like, connected to something. And then, I feel like I'm psychic or that I have psychic abilities, but then I'd like tell myself no. Like, anyway, this all translated to that for me. But I feel like it being my biggest wound, a lot of it is definitely like the intuition, or it feels like a gut feeling of just like not trusting myself with like my voice or my purpose or like just anything. Like there's like a hesitation for it. And I feel like that's what that is.
Yeah. Okay. So then now what are our gifts? What are our healing gifts that come from this? The psychic ability. So honestly, what I do feel like that for the Chiron 12th house, because we know that similarity that we have between us where we just like know things and feel things that apparently like other people don't. It's what makes us weird or different, I think, okay, so having a 12th house Chiron, and then I would say Scorpio especially, is going to be the hardest, like a pretty hard one to have, because you can't even pinpoint it. You can't like see what the issue is. It might not even be from this lifetime. Like, it's you against you, and you can't see what's going on. So I think that also means that the healing gift that comes from having the hardest Chiron placement is like also the strongest, like the biggest healing gift, where because things have been so just like inherently heavy or karmic, that probably is our search for the why, or like making understanding of things, because we're trying to figure out where did this come from? Like what actually is going on? So once we work on ourselves and like work through where our hidden pain might be coming from and healing like invisible wounds, this is the hardest wound to uncover and figure out and work through. So if you can work through that, if you can find yours and work through it, then you are able to find everyone else's path to healing. If you have found your way to healing your Chiron, healing your past life karma and trauma, then you are able to do that for other people too. You're able to help them face the hidden parts in themselves, face their spirituality, and face the things that are bigger than them. So a 12th house Chiron person heals by shadow work. So based on whatever house your Chiron is in and what the themes of like your wound is, whatever the opposite expression of that wound is, or using that wound for good, is what your gift is. So if it's in the first house, if your biggest wound is around your appearance, that also gives you the biggest healing gift of helping other people feel good in their skin. So you can kind of apply that throughout all the houses. Another way to do shadow work here and use your Chiron placement to grow is to really look into what the sign means. Think about how it's shown up in your life and where it might be applicable. And then your core issue. I think that's the main one. So that might be the first thing you want to tackle and start to heal from, and dig deep in figuring out where it comes from and how to transmute the pain into something healing and a gift. Would you like to add anything?
I think it's interesting that once you're able to recognize that wound or pain point or identify it, doing the opposite can like alleviate that pain. So it's like how we were saying, it's like, where is this coming from, or what do you do? But then it's like, okay, look at it, face it head on. Like, it sucks to realize this is my biggest wound, but then acting accordingly and like doing the opposite or doing things that are good for you, that'll help. I think that's really cool. I think it's a fun thing to look at.
I don't think it's as easy as just seeing it and being like, okay, I'm just going to act like the opposite.
Yeah.
Because it actually is a placement where it's like
you work with it.
Yeah, you will have this pain. Like it is what your deep wound is. We all have core wounds. So that's what your core wound is. And, I think that it's very important to know what our biggest pain point is if we want to, one, be self-aware, and two, heal and grow and become better versions of ourselves. But with your Chiron in 12th Sagittarius, what was like your internal feelings about like religion, spirituality when you were younger?
I just didn't really understand it at all. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't like going to church. My family didn't really go to church, but my dad's like best friend would go. So I would go with their family a lot and I didn't really enjoy it. But I also would pray all the time. Like I didn't really know how to pray, but I would be like in my room praying about random things or my life and stuff. So I definitely always believed that I was talking to someone or something and that there was like more out there, but just the framework of what that looked like, I questioned for a really long time. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I'm Catholic, but like,
yeah, it's kind of giving psychic wound. Like how I'm feeling it is like, if you're younger and you have like these intuitive abilities, but no one helped you make sense of it. So you just feel like really insecure about this part of you.
Yeah, totally.
And look at us healing it right now.
Amazing.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm also healing mine here too, because I feel like when I talk and I'm sharing and I'm being open about my own experiences, I'm somehow channeling some stuff. And then I'm able to like kind of surprise myself too about some things that I say that really are like, oh, okay, so that's a truth. So I get to find out a little bit more about where my issues are coming from and like what really I need to face, like when I just am talking about it and being open. So this is healing me, it's healing everyone. We're all about the healing here. All right, now for our final segment, we will be going over a viewer submitted chart and question. So this person wrote in, she wanted to stay anonymous, and this is what she said. I consider myself agnostic, but very curious about spirituality. I am a scientist and an artist. I have no idea how to interpret the houses on my chart and would like clarity on the present moment, my sense of self, and how to become more aligned and confident. My self-esteem fluctuates and I want to be empowered, but I don't like being perceived even when I receive positive remarks about my personality because I overthink them and I don't like being boxed in. I know that my North Node is in the 12th house means I need to let go, which aligns with my past experiences with perfectionism. I'd also like to know what my chart says about intimacy and passion, as well as what the Lilith means, or anything else that stands out if possible. Thank you and best wishes. Thank you for writing in. And seriously, need to say this. Thank you guys so much. Like, I'm so happy. Okay, so like right away, the first time we get write-ins, I'm reading your guys' messages. I'm like, I can't believe like, yeah, these are my people. They're out there and they're watching. And so thank you so much. I'm like, I feel bad because I'm like, oh my God, I want to do all of them, but we can't do all of them. So, maybe we'll come back around. So this one that we chose, I looked at her chart and girl, I highlighted some words that she used. So she wants to know how to become more confident and aligned. She speaks about having some self-esteem fluctuations and how she doesn't like being perceived and she doesn't like to be boxed in and she overthinks, deals with perfectionism. Yeah. And she's a scientist and an artist. So I think that she must have ran her chart Placidus because when I ran her chart using whole sign, I got her North Node in the first house. So that's what I'm assuming where she got the 12th house North Node from. But I'm going to read it as the first house North Node because that's how I'm going to read it. So it's very funny. All right. Okay. So I guess the first thing that stands out about her speaking about how she doesn't like being perceived. What do you think? What rising sign do you think she is? What do you think her chart ruler is? The sun, Leo. It's so funny. Leo risings, a lot of Leos don't like attention. It's really weird. Or I guess like maybe they're just really sensitive around it or something. But it's almost like, I don't know, everyone thinks Leos are all about themselves and stuff. And I think I'm a pretty spot on Leo, but I know a lot of Leos that really like don't want to be the center of attention at all. Interesting. So when we have her North Node in the first house in Leo rising, this is already explaining what needs to happen and what's going on here. Having her North Node in the first house, Leo, that is the most Leo placement I swear you could have. It's like about you times like 3. That's what it feels like. So of course, naturally, you're gonna not want to be the center of attention or be perceived at all. But that's exactly what you're you're going to have to do. You're coming from a south node in the 7th house, Aquarius. So we have the same north nodes and same south node, but just in different houses. So your south node in the 7th house means what you already do. What you already do naturally, you're great at. Partnerships, union, and with it being in Aquarius, Aquarius is for the collective. It is for progression, for big ideas, new concepts, evolution, society. And the opposite of that is Leo, who's I'm the center of the world. Everything's about me. Like I'm the star, I'm the leader. What I say goes. So the fact that the self-esteem and being perceived is the main issue that she's having is just straight up your south node to north node. And this is also why I wanted to read it as this whole sign chart too in the 1st house, because it changed the meaning of what she's supposed to do to be, I think, a little bit more outwardly. So the 12th house and the 1st house are right next to each other, but they're very different. So one is completely hidden and one is what you show to the world. Then we have her moon in Capricorn. Girl, feel you. And I have to be so honest with you that if I thought that I had these Capricorn moon, productivity, perfectionism, mommy issues, then girl, you got me on that. You're beating me on that one. So her Capricorn moon is in the 6th house. So that is like the house of work, service, wellness, habits. Having your Capricorn moon in the 6th house, like I just like actually like I feel for you. So the 6th house is about productivity. So your emotional world is dependent on how successful you are at your productivity. So that's very hard because you should not equate, the same way for me, like my financial status should not affect my emotional stability, but it does because that's where my moon is. So if you have your moon in the 6th house, it's like, it's dependent on your productivity or how much you're able to like help or contribute. So that's definitely a lot of pressure there. And then you have Saturn on your MC. So that's Saturn in the 10th house, which actually the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn and Saturn. So it's a very comfortable placement. So that actually, the Saturn in the 10th house there, where normally I'd be like, this is an intense placement, especially with the Capricorn moon 6th house. But because it's comfortably placed, it almost kind of relieves all the other parts because it kind of now reframes your chart and your energy as like, you're supported by this. Like this is like Saturn's the father. So it could be, I just kind of got this vibe that she probably has a lot of familial pressures on her to be successful. That's what I got. Having Saturn in the 10th house, like right on your MC, this is in Taurus, you're going to create something long-term. Like you being a Leo rising, you are supposed to be a leader. It makes sense that you are a scientist and an artist because you're all of the things. It almost seems like the overthinking and not liking to be perceived thing is because you actually are so much more complex and deep than how maybe like a Leo would appear on the surface. There's so much more to you than probably like the compliments that you get that you feel like this need to define yourself. Like no one else can define who you are. You define who you are. This is having your North Node in the 1st house. Like that's important. Like Leo 1st house, North Node. You are supposed to define who you are. Okay. So if you're uncomfortable with certain compliments, because you don't like that they're trying to define you, then define yourself. That's important. I think that you need to find out who you are or who you want to show up as, how you would like to be perceived as. I think once you just choose, who do I want to be? What is wrong about the way that people are interpreting me right now? Why does that bother me? What do I wish they complimented me on instead? When you get really specific about that, and that's really important for you, for your North Node in the 1st house, you should spend your time figuring out what you want, what you think, what you believe. And it's really important that you embrace your individuality. Don't try to blend in. Don't try to fit in. I really feel like it's about defining yourself. That way, that whole fear of perception or overthinking does not matter because you've already defined who you are. And you have that in your subconscious that no one else is going to define who you are. you are going to define who you are. So if you're not liking what's coming in, I think it must be a reflection of where you're at about who you are. You know, I think if you were very sure of who you were, then it wouldn't bother you. And I hope that doesn't come off like attacking. Like that's just like what it is, what the issue is. If you want to be more aligned, like you have to be less apologetic and less people pleasing and celebrate yourself too. Let yourself be seen because you are meant to. Then we have her Scorpio, 4th house, Chiron, and Lilith. So she has Scorpio, Lilith, and Chiron in the 4th house. The 4th house is the house of family, roots, childhood, ancestry. So having your greatest wound there is giving childhood trauma, but you know, whatever pains you have are shaped by your early childhood. And seeing this coupled with your Capricorn moon in the 6th house and Saturn in the 10th house, I just definitely see that there's lots of pressure that not only like has been put on you, but that you put on yourself. So your confidence is not going to come from trying to be perfect. You know, like the perfectionism is something ingrained a part of you. What you should be moving towards is your highest expression. Oh, also because your Jupiter is in the 9th house, which means that you will find much abundance in traveling. And I really think the biggest issue is the visibility thing. I think that must be what you are struggling with. Also, because she has a 11th house Gemini sun in Mercury. So you're very smart and you're also very deep. And that's how I feel too. Like I feel like very misunderstood because I don't know. I think those things just are misunderstood. These placements do get misunderstood. I hope that helped. I feel like I could talk forever, but I almost like I want to talk to her. Like actually, it would check in at this point. How's it resonating? Is anything making sense? Where does this show up? But yeah, I think even just the knowledge alone of her looking at her Placidus and seeing North Node in the 12th house, I think that if you switch your focus to North Node into Leo in the 1st house, that is going to address a lot of your self-esteem, confidence issues. And it's just about allowing yourself to be seen and know that like you're worthy of being seen and worthy of leading and taking up space. All right. So what did we go over today? We went over so much today. We went over the Devil, the tarot card, which literally is the scariest one in the deck. But this podcast is not afraid of stuff like that. We went over Chiron, our deepest pain point in our chart. And I wish maybe we'll do another episode later on where we talk more about how to heal. I hope this was helpful enough for just to prompt you to start looking deeper into your chart and into your placements, and specifically your Chiron placement. I don't want you to think like, oh my gosh, I have this wound, like I'm doomed. Like, what am I supposed to do about it? You know, maybe we'll do that in another episode. I think that first get familiar and face the truth first. But of course, ask any questions that you have down below. Also, if you want to send in your birth chart, we have a form linked down below and on our website. I'd love to hear more from you guys so we can continue to have these conversations that are tailored to you guys. Tell me what you guys would do in my dating love triangle situation. We're not going to protect men. Not protecting men. No. But I'm just kind of hung up on, is he a good guy or not?
To be told.
The rest is still unwritten. I love to hear what you guys have to say about the podcast. So please leave comments, send in your forms, follow us on the Instagram account, subscribe, turn on notifications. There's new episodes every week, every Monday. And thank you guys for joining us on sign language today. You want to say anything?
I don't know. Bye. Thanks. Thank you. Should I wrap it up somehow or just bye?
You can say bye.
Bye.
Love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye. This is Amanda Steele, and you're listening to Sign Language. Ta-da.